Welcome to the Seek Wisdom podcast, where we talk with others who love Jesus about wisdom in the faith. I'm your host, Nehemiah Peterson, and today our guest is Pastor Stephen. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I want to talk to you about today is I'm personally going through this kind of rigmarole, I guess, of God having me in the past 10 years. You're doing this, now you're doing this, now you're doing this, now you're doing this. And it's cool, but it's also like kind of terrifying and insane and the roller coaster of emotions, roller coaster of our circumstances, physically, emotionally, spiritually, across the board, right? And I've just been thinking, like, who is someone who I could talk to about, advice from that, someone who has maybe gone through that. And your story came up in my brain. And so I know you personally. I know your story maybe more than some people who are listening to this. So could you just give kind of a short version on why I might have asked you to talk about this, if that makes sense?
Yeah, for sure. Well, again, thank you so much for the invite to be a part of this. And I've been here at Journey Church. It'll be 10 years in March or April. Around
Soon.
that time, March, April.
We're getting there.
Here in the next couple of weeks. And so I've been here. I was served as the youth pastor and the lead youth pastor here at our church. We have multiple campuses here. So I did that for about 7 years until Pastor Kevin, our lead pastor, came and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "I've got new things for you."
Sure, yeah.
and asked me to be campus pastor at one of our campuses here in Wisconsin. And so I've been at our Burlington campus. It'll be about 3.5 years right now.
Cool.
And even before that, I was a middle school pastor in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I served at a church for 2 years. And before that, I worked with a college that I graduated from and traveled all across the country and transported college students while we did. If anyone knows what a human video is, you have to go back.
Amen.
You have to go back to the 2000s for that.
Yeah.
And but we would go and do ministry in public schools, in public setting, and do school assemblies all across America. And then we would have really cool opportunities to do youth conferences, where one of those was called Winterfest in Knoxville, Tennessee, where we got to share the stage with some impactful speakers and worship teams in front of about 30,000 students.
That's crazy.
And so when you ask me, all the different things,
Right.
and trying to go through the rigmarole, it's been a lot.
You've been there.
It's been great.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's why I asked you for sure, because I'm like, okay, for my story, mine hasn't all been directly ministry related.
Right.
Some of it is. I honestly feel like I have kind of I have like kind of a double dip story where I went to JMC, which is a ministry college here, as part of the church, actually, for those who don't know. I graduated JMC. God called me and my wife to, fresh out of college, freshly married, moved to Seattle for 4 years, and we helped out with a church plant out there, which was sweet. We were on the team there. It's kind of the ministry side.
Yeah.
And then we moved back to Wisconsin because things got crazy financially. We had our first child, and then we moved back, and we were like, okay, what's the next big, awesome part of life? Like, God's going to provide, and He has, but I think in our brains we were expecting things to go really smoothly immediately. Like, God's calling us to move back. He's got a million things lined up for us. And what we have seen instead is a season of a lot of patience and a lot of sitting and waiting. And, like, we've lived with my parents since we moved back. It's been about 1.5 years, which love them. Love you guys if you're watching. But, it's challenging for us and for them, I'm sure. And we're like, okay, God, like, what is going on? And, I've been running my own media production company. I, in Seattle, did that too, but I had like a main freelance client and then the church.
Yeah.
Whereas since I moved back, I have 2 churches I work with. I have 2 schools that I work with. I do freelance. So, like, I'm kind of all over, It's more... I'm more business owner hat since we moved back than I am kind of doing ministry and have side projects.
Right.
Now I'm like doing business stuff,
Yeah.
But, it's been it's been good, but it's been not good enough that we can live on our own. You
Right.
know what I mean? So I
Right.
think there's been a lot of needing to trust, a lot
Hmm.
of waiting, a lot of God, what is happening? Honestly, a lot of like, God, where are you?
Yeah.
Just being honest.
Mm.
And I have my good days and my bad days,
Yeah.
but that's kind of what I'm going through right now, where I'm like, I know God's going to do something, and He is doing stuff that's good now.
Yeah.
We have 2 kids right now, and having the extra help from grandma and grandpa is great.
Hmm.
I'm not discounting that,
Free babysitting
Right.
is
It's
awesome.
great. But yeah, so based on your story, what I wanted to ask you is, how did you deal with that?
Oh man.
Was it intense? Was it good? Was it both a little bit?
Yeah, I think it was kind of a funny story because we were going into our winter camp back in 20.
When you were
gosh.
first told that you were transitioning into
Yeah,
that
when I was
role,
asked.
or
Yeah,
asked, or
So it was in
'cause
2020,
I don't know. Yeah.
2021, and it was in February when it was the Sunday that we had our winter camp leader meeting.
Okay.
And so like we were preparing for that, the youth team and everything. And I remember getting a text from Jordan, PK's admin assistant,
Yeah.
and was like, "Hey, PK and Jolene want to meet with you and Angela tonight for dinner." And I'm like, well, we've got our winter camp leader
Yeah.
meeting, and but I guess if they want to take us to dinner or whatever. And but at first I was like, I'm fired.
Oh, really? That was your initial thought?
Well,
Yeah.
if that was the initial thought, but then I was like, well, we're going to dinner. Maybe it's not that.
Yeah.
But then I was like,
That would be a very awkward
well, yeah.
way to either start or end dinner.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, I don't really know what's going
Yeah.
on. I was like, can it be next week? And I was
Right.
like, did PK hear what I'm going to be doing at winter camp?
Right.
Like I was going for a goal to see how many kids I could make beat
Sure.
for a game.
For sure.
And so anyway, and so like I remember like kind of going into that,
Right.
and we're sitting there kind of having dinner and everything, and I see Pastor Jolene like nudge PK's leg because the whole time we're just sitting there having small
Yeah,
talk.
doing this.
And she
Yeah.
was like, well,
Right.
Kevin.
Uh,
And he pulls out this red folder,
oh.
and he was like, so the pastors at Burlington campus,
Mhm.
they're looking to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had a lot of different conversations with the executive team and all that, and your name kept getting brought up. And I'm just sitting there like,
Right. Are you even in the headspace at this point of doing something other than youth?
no,
Like at all?
I was
right?
not. I was
Yeah.
not looking for anything.
Yeah, right.
And I think that that's part of this story, is in a way my whole ministry career, because I was gonna say like my entire
Right.
working life,
Right.
but I did go get a job at a pizza place when I was 15.
Fair.
But other than that, all the other opportunities I've never seeked out for. God has just opened that door for me.
Right.
And so like I was ready to be a youth pastor forever.
Right.
I was
yeah.
excited, I love, next generation, I am a big fan of pizza, which those two kind of
Oh,
coexist.
of course. Yeah.
And I remember when he asked me that, I was like, me? And at the time I'd been youth pastor here for 7+ years.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know why he's thinking of me. And I never opened up that folder because I asked, like, do you have a job description or whatever? He's like,
Right.
it's all in the folder. And I said, all right, cool. Well, I'm just going to leave that closed. Because
Right.
I wanted God to speak to me
Mm,
before I ever looked to see what the job entailed.
that's valid.
And funny story, I still have that red folder with that job description in my office.
There you go.
And I didn't open it up until we had a few more conversations, and I told Pastor Kevin that I do believe that this is what God has for us. And then I opened it up.
Yeah, right.
Then I was like, why didn't I open this up before?
Yeah, that's actually so funny. Yeah.
But it was just one of those things where it was like I wasn't looking for it. I
Right.
opened it up, and I remember telling PK, I was like, why me? Like, I don't even, and it wasn't like, a false pride, like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
why
right.
me? Give me all the things. But I remember just going, what in the world? Like, I wasn't looking for
Right.
this.
This was random.
Mhm.
It feels random at least.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
And obviously, Pastor Kevin saw something in me. I guess it's my leadership. I guess it's my communication. I mean, all of which at that time I was like, I only know how to talk to students. I don't
Right.
really know how to talk to senior saints, is what we'll say
Sure.
in this
yeah.
podcast. But those were the things that I was trying to think through, where I was like, oh man, like I remember telling PK several times, and this again wasn't like a false pride thing, but I'm like, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, right, sure.
Like, what are you talking about? And I remember Pastor Kevin looking at me. He goes, explain to me what you do in youth ministry right now. He's like, what are you over? And I was like, youth ministry.
Right.
It's very very intellectual
Yeah.
conversation. He
Very
goes, no,
youth, very
youth
youthy.
pastor.
Yeah.
And
I didn't
so-
want to say that, but
no,
I
no,
was
you're good.
like,
And
yeah.
I remember looking at PK, and I'm sure most people, are like, how could you talk to your lead pastor like that? I'm like, I am who I am.
Sure, yeah.
And Pastor Kevin and I and our lead pastor, like, we have such a great relationship. I mean, I've been here for 10 years in March. And so, like, and what a lot of people see in me is that I am who I am on stage. I am who I am off the stage, and
Yeah.
the podcast, whatever that looks like. And so, like, yeah, I just, and if there's any encouragement, like, be who God's called you to be.
Mhm.
And so I remember, like, having a conversation with him, and I was like, I don't even know what that even means. He was like, what are you doing in youth? And I was like, okay, well, I recruit leaders for guest experience, for check-in. I'm making sure that everybody's running production. If we don't have anybody, I have teams that we make sure we're doing this. I preach on Wednesday nights. I'm making sure small groups are happening. And as I kept going, he just starts smiling.
Right. He's like, this is
And
what I need you to
and
do.
he looks
Yeah.
at me and goes, okay, so you don't think you can be a campus pastor?
Right.
You don't think you can take this new level of leadership and do it with, older folks?
Right.
And I was like, oh, well, I guess so,
Right. Like you're
and
prepped for this
Yeah.
in a way, indirectly.
right.
Yeah.
And I
right.
think the hardest part for me was the relational equity that I had here at this campus and with all of our youth leaders. And, I had been there, for 7 years, which if you think about it, all the sixth graders were now seniors.
Right.
So I've had an entire class
Yeah.
come through that's been under, my leadership. And so those were the hardest things that I had to talk with God about
Yeah.
and really have him help me understand, Stephen, it ain't about you.
Right.
Like, hey, yeah, you've got these relationships. Hey, you've got, this relational equity. You have this influence, but I'm calling you to something greater.
Yeah.
I'm calling you to somewhere that's out of your comfort zone. I'm calling you somewhere that you're going to have an influence in people that are older than you. And I go, who would listen to me?
Yeah. That's a crazy thought. It
Yeah.
makes, yeah.
When I show up, on Burlington campus, and I have, obviously kids and youth and everything, but then I show up, and one of our amazing prayer warriors at our campus, her name's Miss Sharon. I mean, I'm not gonna say how old she is, but she's up there. We'll
Sure.
put it that way. And as she calls it, well, so I feel comfortable saying this, but she goes, she's in her fourth quarter of life.
Sure.
And she is faithful, and she comes up and, she's encouraging to me, but she's always someone who is not afraid to listen to someone who is probably 50 or 60 years younger than her.
Sure.
And to me, like, I think about me a few years ago, if I had like a middle schooler trying to tell me,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
like, hush,
Yeah. Right.
But I think that's the cool thing about the mantle of leadership that God can bestow on a leader and a pastor in different seasons. And there's an array and a diverse age group at our church that I have those opportunities to speak into and to preach to them, and not just tickle their ears so that they can go, oh yeah, that was a really good sermon. Thank you for that.
Right.
Appreciate it. What'd you get out of it?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
How do you personally, how do you in current seasons, even if it's not to the same scale, whatever, maybe what are some encouragements that you have
Yeah.
as far as being in seasons of waiting, being in seasons where you feel like you're called to do something that you're
Yeah.
maybe not ready for, maybe you don't think you're ready for. Do you have any pointers for me or for the people watching of dealing with seasons you were not expecting, maybe?
Yeah. Oh man, what a great question. And I think one of the things that comes to mind, from the different transitions that I've had, and which haven't been many, but from Charlotte to here, and then being youth pastor, and then Burlington campus pastor, and all that. I think one of the big things that comes to mind, even in seasons when it's like, oh man, there's so much going on, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do it. I don't know, like, God, where are you? It's all these things. And oftentimes I'll step back and I'll start to write down the good things that are happening.
Mm,
Because a lot of times when you think about it, or at least when I think about it, I'll step back, and when I start writing out the things that are going great and the things that, confusing and I don't what's going on,
right.
all of it has centered around this is what I've prayed for.
That's cool.
And sometimes the things that we pray for, actually oftentimes, it's not comfortable.
Sure.
And I think we always have an unrealistic expectation that it is going to be comfortable. It's going to be smooth. We put together this whole process in our brain. We think it's going to be absolutely perfect. And then when it doesn't go the way that we want it to, we go, this isn't how I planned it.
Right. Yeah.
And God's like, duh.
Yeah.
It also reminds me of we've got 5 kids. So
I'll pray for
talk
you.
about a rigmarole. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot
I mean,
of
that's
few things
wonderful,
going
but
on.
wow. I have
And,
2, and I'm like, holy cow.
One of the set of them is a twins.
There you
We got
go.
the twins there. But the thing that I think through is when Angela first became pregnant with Liam.
Is that
He'll be
your
Yeah,
oldest?
he'll be
Okay.
11 this year. And I remember, my mom and her mom, they're all like, all right, we want to read these books, everything. It's go to the birthing class. It's all these things.
Yeah.
And I remember I'm more of a School of Hard Knocks type learner. I'm not
Sure.
necessarily one who's going to sit there and read books. I've gotten better over the years, because leaders are readers. But at this time, I was like, no, I'm more of a fly by the seat of my pants guy.
Okay.
And I was even kind of trained with that. I traveled with an evangelist for many, many years who speaks to over 2.1 million students every year. And so I kind of learned that you just sometimes you can't think.
Right.
Sometimes when we think of reasons why we can't do stuff.
Mm.
And we think of reasons why it's not going to work out. So I've like over the years had to come to a point where I've kind of put like a blockade where it's just like, just don't think about it.
Right.
Just go for it and we'll figure it out later. I don't know if that's good wisdom or bad wisdom.
I think it depends, right?
It
Sometimes
depends-
that's great.
Depends on the
Yeah.
on the day.
Yeah.
But what I've kind of learned is, especially like when my wife Angela was pregnant, I remember like looking at her and I was like, I'm not gonna read this. Like, don't even order the book. We don't need it from Amazon. We
Sure.
didn't have money at the time. We don't even need to make an Amazon purchase
Right.
now, And
Hey, I'm there right now, so I get it.
and the cool thing is that whatever plan that we would have come up with leading into Liam being born would have been all thrown out the window a week before he was actually born. He was measuring way too big, where they looked like the doctor looked at Angela in the last appointment that we had, and she looked at Angela. She's the greatest doctor ever. She looks at Angela and goes, "You want that baby out, do you?" And Angela's like, "Yes."
Yeah.
Get it out of me, And the doctor leans over and goes, "What about tomorrow at 8 a.m.?"
So he was ready.
And I went, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
Like I've seen the movies. Like
Yeah.
I gotta have my bag packed.
Yeah.
I don't even know I had I had the crib ready. I don't even know I
Yeah.
had the pack and play ready.
Yeah.
The bassinet. Like, and I'm like, but again, that's in a way that's how I do my life sometimes. Where I'm
Right.
just like, all right, well, we're gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
We're gonna make it happen. And so we ended up having a scheduled C-section, and I was a dad the next day. Not planned.
Right.
But I think through all the times that if we would have had the birthing classes, this is how the delivery's going to go, this is how everything got thrown out the window.
Right.
And so I will often look through that perspective of we can have, and there's a verse that I can look up later, but it's like we can have all of our plans in order, and God will be like, we're going to do it this way.
Right. Yeah.
And actually, Pastor Kevin, he said this a few Sundays ago. He was like, is Jesus, in the front seat, or is he in the trunk?
Right.
And that's a really valuable statement. And I, there's times where I put him in the trunk, because I have all the plans figured out. So
Right.
it's been like,
You're
all right,
driving.
yeah.
He's with you, but he's not
but
in
he's
control.
in the trunk.
and-
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And
Yep.
so I think through that. And so when it comes down to, all the things that are going on in your life right now, and you're just trying to navigate everything.
Right.
And I'm trying to navigate, in my own life. I've got my 5 kids. I'm running a campus. I'm currently also the youth pastor at our campus. So I've absorbed that. I'm working on this. Baseball season's coming up. I'm a baseball coach. I mean, I could list all the things that
Right,
we
right.
do. And in the middle of all that, I saw this quote the other day that said, "Don't complain when you have a full plate when the goal was to eat."
That's cool. Yeah.
For multiple levels for me, because I love to eat.
Amen.
Not generally in this area, but it's like, man, I've got a full plate. I'm so busy, but it's a good busy. It's
Yeah.
not just things are crazy and my
Right.
life's chaotic and I don't know what to do with my life. But it's like these are things that I prayed for.
Yeah.
These are things like I prayed for my children to be healthy.
Yes.
I prayed for us to have a good sized family, not as large as it was.
That's fair.
But again, we didn't plan that.
God,
You know?
God over delivered on
Yeah,
that prayer.
whoever they are that said
Yeah.
twins skip a generation, they lied. Because I am a twin. I wasn't supposed to have twins.
I had no idea. That's
yeah,
so
I have a
funny.
twin sister.
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to have twins. So here we are.
All right.
And so it's just one of those things. I didn't plan for that, but here we are. We got to make it happen. And so every single thing that I think through that's on my plate is something that I prayed for.
Mm.
In some way, shape, or form, I prayed to have these kids and to have a healthy wife and to have a healthy life and a healthy marriage and healthy kids. In some way, I prayed, God, would you, I think at some point we all go, God, I think I'm made for a little bit more.
Right.
Could you, I pray for more leadership. I pray for more speaking opportunities. I pray for more authority in this. And then you get it. And guess what happens? You get more to your plate,
Right.
And when you pray for more, sometimes when you have more kids, when that happens and it's like, well, I don't have the finances to continue to do this.
Right.
But these are all things that I prayed for. And so my plate is full, but my goal was to eat anyway.
Right.
And so then I have to start shifting my perspective to how can I make it happen?
Mm-hmm.
But not just how can I make it happen? Because I can't do it by myself.
Right.
Nehemiah, you can't do it by yourself.
No,
bro.
I'm in that phase of
Mhm.
it right now, which is the good news, is that I'm like, okay, God, clearly
Mhm.
I've been not that I've excluded him,
Right.
but he's maybe been in the trunk on more drives than I'm going deep on the analogy here, but
Yeah.
on more drives than he should be, and so I've been like, okay, God, one perspective shift that I had this week, I'm sure God put it on my heart,
Mhm.
was the devil is really cool with me doing a lot of this work for the kingdom.
Mhm.
I'm working with the Catholic, what am I trying to say? The private schools.
Yeah,
I'm doing a
yeah.
lot of work with private schools, which are kingdom minded.
Mhm.
I'm doing a lot of work with the two churches, which are kingdom minded.
Mhm.
The devil's cool with that.
Yeah.
As long as I'm not doing great in my day-to-day walk, as long as
Right.
I'm not spending time in the Word,
Yeah.
the devil's like, yeah, man, you keep doing all this stuff
Mhm.
as long as your soul isn't doing as well as it should be.
Right.
I'm cool with that.
Mhm.
And I was like, whoa, that's not good.
Yeah.
So, and not that I wouldn't say I'm doing terribly, but
Mhm.
I'm not doing as good in my day-to-day practices
Yeah.
as I want to be, as I should be, as I, again, I went to ministry school. I
Right.
grew up in the church. Like, I know this stuff.
Mhm.
This is not new information for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
But I think, it was a perspective shift for sure, where I was like, okay, I feel like I'm doing a lot
Yeah.
for the kingdom right now. Why are things not going as well as I'd want them to, or
Right.
whatever? And God put it on my heart of, well, yeah, you are doing a lot, but
Mhm.
when was the last time you and me had a coffee, so to speak?
Yeah.
When was the last time you and me, whatever, you read the
Mhm.
word for more than the verse of the day on your iPhone
Right.
screen,
Right.
And again, I wouldn't say it's been like years,
Right,
but
right.
it's been longer than it should be, for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think that makes a lot of sense, and I like the analogy that you brought up of the trunk versus the driver's seat.
Mhm.
I think I am in that season right now of realization.
Yeah.
All right, God, I need to put you in the driver's seat.
Right.
I need to be along for the ride, not having you along for the ride that I'm
Right.
driving,
Right.
know? So cool. Well, the next thing that I want to ask you about is, and this is kind of, I don't know, maybe it's related, maybe it's a little bit not, but I know that there are times where I have in the past, to a lesser extent in the present, been like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be next.
Yeah.
Like maybe you were, I know this wasn't your story specifically, but you maybe were someone else maybe was approached with this new pastoral
Right.
job, and really God, even though you have this opportunity, it's not the opportunity God has for you. Like maybe in a world where someone is listening to this and they're like, I'm in that seat, but I feel
Yeah.
like it's the reverse of what I'm supposed to do is the reverse of that. I'm
Mm.
supposed to not do the next thing.
Right.
I'm supposed to be faithful where I'm at,
Mm.
stuff like that.
Mm.
Do you have any advice for someone who's in that sphere?
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been there too. I'm sure you've been there at moments where
Yeah.
an opportunity has come your way.
Mm.
I can give you a small example, but like recently for me, a few months ago, God put it on my heart to stop taking freelance work that is not kingdom related.
Mm.
And I'll just give the short version there. But recently, I got asked to shoot someone's wedding, and it would have been a nice check.
Yeah.
And we need the money.
Mhm.
And I just felt God on my heart say, "You gonna listen to me?"
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, yeah, but I don't want to, because we need the money. It
Right.
probably would have been above $3,000, and I was like, I guess I'm saying no to this because
Mhm.
God just told me to stop
Yeah.
taking non-kingdom work. And I think that that's kind of what I'm asking is like, I have this opportunity in my lap, but I know that it's not what God has for me in this
Right.
season.
Right.
Will I ever shoot another wedding ever again? Probably.
Yeah.
But in this season, God has said, no,
Yeah.
if it's not kingdom related, I don't want you doing it. So do
Mhm.
you have any advice for someone, for me, for other people who are maybe in that season where something's getting thrown in their lap and
Mhm.
it's worldly speaking, it would be great,
Right.
but God has asked you to not move on. God has
Mhm.
asked you to be faithful,
Yeah. Well, I've got a story.
Okay.
And before we moved to Wisconsin, I was a middle school pastor in Charlotte, North Carolina. And for the Cliff Notes version, that was a very, very hard season. It was my first ministry job out of college, had a lot of promise, and I'll just put it mildly, within about 3 to 6 months, I realized, whoa. it was quite a few conversations and a few things that had happened while I was on staff that I was like, this is
So you feel like, whoa, like this wasn't what I was supposed to do?
it
Or
wasn't that. I knew that I was supposed to be there.
Okay.
But it was this is not what I expected.
Sure. Okay.
This is not what was portrayed.
Sure.
This was not what was talked about in the pre-interviews and the
Yeah,
interviews
right.
and the acceptance letters and all that kind of stuff. And some of it was even just like theological.
Oh, sure. Okay. Right.
Like, I mean, point blank, it was like, yeah, we don't know if we believe in women pastors.
Oh,
Okay. Like one of those things
for sure.
where I was like, okay, so that's where we're at. And we
To
were
be
there.
clear, we believe in women pastors.
Yeah, yeah. Make that very clear.
Let's be very clear. Yeah.
but I mean, so we were there for roughly over 2 years,
Mhm.
and this was 6 months in.
Oh, wow.
That I remember stepping back and coming home and talking to Angela, and I, explained to her, what was said and what kind of happened and different situations. And she was like, well, what are we going to do? And I said, God has us here for a reason.
Yeah.
Did it make sense? No. Would it have been easier to just go, yeah, I'm not doing this.
Right.
I'm out, see you around, whatever. And I remember telling Angela multiple times, I need to be faithful where I'm at.
Mhm.
This is where I'm planted. I'm going to give it everything that I have. And this is what we're going to do. And so month after month, crazy stuff after,
Right.
different things happening consistently. And I remember coming home and, after different things, I mean, this is probably about a year and a half into it now. And she was like, there's something you never want to hear, your wife as a pastor. Well, why are you working there? Like if it's this much and everything. And I just remember saying, hey, this is I'm learning something right now. Most of it, how not to do things.
Right.
And I think that that's another point, is that sometimes you're in seasons and we're in different things and you're thinking, I did not want to learn this. But when we fast forward a few years later, or a few months later, I remember like, and even what you were saying, like when you have opportunities, well, I can shoot this wedding, I can make $3,000 here or whatever. You have to go with what not only your gut says from your discernment, but what the Holy Spirit is speaking to you as well. Because in this season, I had 3 or 4 different job offers come across my desk where I could have easily said, I'm
Right.
out of here.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel right. God didn't open the door. It was an opportunity. And I truly believe that God was like, hey, well, we're going to test you. What's going to be the right thing?
Right,
You know what I'm
right.
saying? And so I remember saying, no, thanks. Hey, appreciate the offer.
And
No,
I'm sure part of
whatever.
you was like, I really want to say yes to this.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And Angela, she's like, why are you saying no to these?
Right, right.
Like, and they were all like local in North Carolina at the
Sure.
time. I mean,
On paper, a better
yeah,
opportunity.
I mean, like
Yeah.
probably more pay, probably more, probably more, learning. I mean, all the different things.
Right.
But nothing felt right. And so here I am doing the thing that doesn't make sense to the world, you
Right.
know, where it's like, no, we're just gonna stay here and just we're gonna suck it up.
Right.
We're gonna keep doing it. And I learned a lot. I mean, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, then when out of all people, Pastor John reached out.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
I had only known P. John from Instagram, and long story short, his brother-in-law was my pastor and director at the school that I went to in Fort Myers, Florida.
Oh, wow.
And so when he reached out, it was actually the pastor Art is his name, who called me randomly and was like, hey, I don't know what's going on in your life or anything like that, but my brother-in-law in Kenosha, Wisconsin, he's looking for a youth pastor, and you're the first person that came to my mind.
Wow.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like whatever. And then I was like, absolutely not. I am not moving to Wisconsin. Like
That's so real.
I'm from the South.
Yeah.
I don't like them Yankees. You
Oh,
know?
that's so funny.
And lo and behold, we came up for an interview, and everything that I had learned in that season, good and bad,
Mm-hmm.
from running our own camps to all like managing a pretty large youth budget. I mean, you name it, everything that was so hard was exactly what this church was looking for in a youth pastor.
Sure. Someone who knew how to handle all those
Right,
things.
right.
Yeah.
We moved here when I was 26. And I remember thinking, they're like, you have all the experience we need. And I'm like, and then I'm learning all the things of
Yeah.
the GOAT P. John. And I'm like, I had to fill this guy's shoes? What in the world? And so in the end, like that's what it all kind of landed to, that in those 2 years, I just imagine where I'd be today. And again, they were good opportunities. And any decision I would have made would not have been, oh, you made the wrong choice.
Right.
Like, I don't think there was a wrong choice, but there was a right choice.
Mm-hmm.
And following what God had laid out for me, in a way, I had to suck it up for 18 months. And I knew that God had me there. And it was hard
Yeah.
and it was tough. But, I look back 12 years later and I go, man, that was tough, but I'm so glad that I came out on
Right.
the side of it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would encourage you. That's what I would encourage all of your listeners or anybody who's watching this, is that we don't see what God sees. And sometimes when we're in the thick of it, we're like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Like, what am I supposed to do? And again, there's no wrong decision, but there's the right one and there's the holy one that God is wanting to make sure that you are on the right path. And the way you can hear that is by spending time with them, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And making sure that there's a holy habit that's happening regularly so that you can hear from him. And so I think that that's where, where my mind went when you asked that question is, what would you say? I would say, be faithful, know where you're planted. Sometimes it may not make any sense. Sometimes you go, well, Jesus, this is you in the front seat. This is you in the driver's seat.
Right. You told me to do this, so I'm doing
Yeah,
it.
this
but
is you in
I-
the Yeah, you're not just in the trunk, being towed along or in the trailer behind the truck.
Right.
And sometimes trust looks very different for people. For some people, it's like, no, I'm going to take that $3,000 and this is what God has for me. And God will bless you.
Right.
And maybe that's exactly what it is. But if God is saying, hey, no, I want you to focus in on this. Your banker's probably like, what are you doing?
Yeah. I already had a couple people who were like, hello, isn't this God throwing you a bone? And I was
Right.
like, no, I really don't think it is. I think it's a test. And
Yeah.
and also too, here's the other part of it, at least from my perspective. You
Yeah.
can tell me your thoughts on this, but like, if I'm wrong because I was trying to be obedient, that's not such a bad place to be.
Right.
I think if it was God
Mm-hmm.
being what doesn't make sense in my mind, counterintuitive to what he's called me,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, I'm gonna be obedient, and God was like, well, that was from me, but
Yeah.
I mean, I did it out of a place of obedience, and I think sometimes even in marriage or in friendships, whatever, like there's
Mhm.
times where you misinterpret, but it was for the sake of the person you care about.
Right.
I think that's God sees the heart in that.
Absolutely.
And I think if
Yeah.
it was him, he's gonna throw me another bone. He's
Mhm.
gonna be like, all right, well, thanks for doing that.
Right. Right.
Let me provide for you in this other
Yeah.
way, I guess. Yeah, at
And
least that's how I see it.
yeah, in a probably strange way, it's just like fasting. Sometimes you're like, God, you're calling me to fast, and you're like, He's like, yeah, or like our church, we're in 21 days of prayer and fasting. Okay, sweet. I have to give up what?
Right.
Things that keep me alive?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fast for 24 hours or 72 hours, and you go, I don't know how I can do this.
Yeah.
And I think that builds up stamina. That once you fast for 24 hours, you go, I think I can do 2 days.
Mhm.
I think I can do 3 days and all that. The list goes on. But I just think through that you're giving up something and then breakthrough comes
Yeah, for
because
sure.
you gave something up. And so I think, for you, Nehemiah, like take a deep breath. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be moments that you will have to sprint, and you're probably in a sprinting season right now.
It feels like it at least.
And sometimes you're like, I don't know what I'm doing with my
Yeah.
hand. But in the end, I think you're a guy who's gonna make it happen, and you're doing just that. And so be encouraged in that. Be encouraged that God sees you, that God is going to continue to bless you, and stick to it. If God called you to do that, stick to it.
I'm trying, yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, for my own personal, again, kind of story about it, like, there's been 3 things now that I've said no to,
Yeah.
and that I'm feeling encouraged in the fact that I have said no. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, it's a
Yeah.
little scary, like in my worldly part of my brain,
Mhm.
where I'm like, okay, I'm not even gonna calculate how much you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that, like, when like recently there was a message, I can't remember who preached it. I think it was PK or P John, and they were like, oh, it was P John. He basically talked about how you have this much amount of time on earth,
Oh yeah.
generally.
Mhm.
And he was like, are you spending it doing the thing God's called you to do,
Right.
or whatever?
Yeah.
And I was like, honestly, it's kind of cool to be able to say that I'm kind of killing that in this season. I was like, I actually feel like,
Yeah.
this is not overly convicting right now.
Right.
Like, this is a strength area for me right
Mhm.
now. God has called me to something really hard, and I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, thank you for the encouragement. And I think that I don't know. I think the main thing that I've taken from today personally is just the aspect that you talked about in regards to, like, notice the good. Recently, God actually directly asked me to do that. So it was kind of confirmation for me personally
good.
when you said that. He was like, sometimes you need to look at your quote unquote bad season
Right.
and recognize what good is coming from it.
Yeah.
So the main example that I remember was the free babysitting, so to speak, of living with my parents, where if we had 2 kids and my son, who is my youngest, is let me just be honest, a crab apple. He is always angry. And the doctors looked at him and he's like, he's fine. He goes to the chiropractor. I don't know, man. This kid is just mad all the time and whatever. And I think that if we didn't have grandma and grandpa home every night to give us, hey, can you watch him for 20 minutes so we can, like, think? Like, I think it would be harder.
Yeah.
And, I think that, is there ever going to be hard seasons with my kids when we don't live with my parents? 100%.
Mhm.
But I think that God just shifted that perspective for me, where he was like, yeah, you're not in the season. Your season doesn't look how you want it to right now. But I'm actually doing a lot of things right now for you in this season because of the, so to speak, negative circumstances that you're going through,
Right.
I'm getting to do a lot of kingdom work right now, a lot of fulfilling work
Yeah.
because of the fact that I'm saying no. I have a little bit more flexibility to hang out with my family and kids because I'm not taking on all of these crazy
Right.
freelance jobs.
Right.
I'm not as tired. There's a lot of good
Mhm.
that God is giving me in the season, even if it's not exactly how I want it to look.
Right.
So Anyway, but yeah, that's pretty much all I had. So
Yeah,
thank you
no,
for
that's
chatting with
awesome,
me
man.
and
Yeah.
encouraging me, and
Yeah,
it's
and
been
I
good.
think if I could add one
Yeah,
more
please do.
thing that as you were talking, and talking about like the free babysitting,
Yeah.
because that may have even been something that you didn't pray for.
No, I didn't. Yeah,
Yeah,
really,
you
honestly.
probably
Yeah.
didn't pray for. Well, Lord, I hope that I can move back in with my
Yeah.
my family of 4 into my parents' living
No.
room or basement or whatever. And I think when those times come, like there's a moment that you can step back and go, I didn't pray for this, and I still don't know if it's really a good thing.
Right.
But then you step back and you go, but there's other people that are probably in a similar situation that you and your family are in, that don't have parents that are around,
Yeah.
that have parents that are out of state,
Yeah.
or that may have parents that are no longer with us. I
Right.
mean, like, you think through all those things, and so when you step back and just like you were saying, you're like, to have more time with your family, and not just your
Not just my
your
kids, right.
and your wife, but your whole family.
Mhm.
Those are moments that you'll be able to cherish
Yes.
later on.
100%.
Right now, you're probably wanting to scratch your corneas at times.
Them too, to be fair.
At
but
times. But those are going to be memories
yeah.
and stories that
Yeah.
years from now,
Yeah.
when your podcast is blown up and you're a giant Christian influencer, all
I don't
across the
know
world,
about
just
that,
speaking
but-
that into your life, speaking that into your future.
Maybe.
But you can then share that,
Right.
10, 15, 20 years from now.
Yeah.
And say, man, I remember God told me
Yeah.
to stop doing this and focus on what he's called me to do. And I
Yeah.
remember living with my parents and all the stories that come with that. And then look where I am now. And so my prayer for you is be thinking, yes, obviously what's in front of you, make it happen, be gritty.
Yeah.
That's what I like to say, develop grit and all that kind of stuff. But go ahead and start thanking your current now for your future self.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Because
Yeah.
I'm telling you, in years from now, and which will be a snap of a finger, years from now, you're gonna look back and go, "Man, I'm so glad I made the best yes."
Yeah. No,
Does
that's
that make
good.
sense? So
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for your wisdom and thank you for your time.
yeah,
That was wonderful. And if somebody wants to hear more Pastor Steven, more Journey Church, like give your shameless plug on where they can find more. You're a campus pastor. Where can they go to see some stuff from that campus?
yeah. So Burlington campus, we've got our own obviously Instagram account. So our main page is JRNY
Church.
Church.
Yep.
I can't remember that.
Yeah.
And then our Burlington account is JRNY Burlington.
Great.
And so that's our Instagram and social media. You can just, our Facebook, you can look up Journey Church Burlington.
Cool.
We're all there. And then also our address is 740 Center Street in Burlington, Wisconsin.
Awesome.
If you blink too fast, you will miss our campus. So you have to be on the lookout for it.
Fair.
But we're very active in our community. And if you're ever in this area, it's the home of Tony Romo. If you like football,
There you go.
and you're a Cowboys fan, which I'm sorry, but anyway.
Fair enough. Cool.
So yeah, that's where Tony Romo's from, and that's a little bit about us, and we'd love to connect with you guys more.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. And if you want to hear more from the Seek Wisdom podcast, we are on all of the main social platforms. We have our long form on YouTube. We have some short form reels and stuff on TikTok and Instagram. And then we also have our audio up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So thank you for being here, and we will see you guys next time. Thank you.